Frozen storage. Hazards to look out for. Multiplication of food poisoning bacteria if temperature of food is too high, or if duration of storage is too long. Cross-contamination from raw to cooked and ready-to-eat foods. Critical limits. Frozen food, -15 degrees Celsius or below. Monitoring procedures. Check frozen temperatures, observing temperature monitoring procedures. Check if date coding and separation of raw and ready-to-eat foods are satisfactory. Complete fridge-freezer temperature records when you first arrive and just before you leave at the end of the night. This is a business-critical procedure, and non-compliance could result in the business closure. Corrective actions. If freezer temperatures are unsatisfactory, the person checking the temperature should advise the manager. If food temperature is above -18 degrees Celsius but below -15 degrees Celsius, food can be transferred to another freezer. If temperature increases to above -15 degrees Celsius but is not above 8 degrees Celsius, subject to its suitability, it should be stored in refrigerated conditions and used within 24 hours. Alternatively, the food may be appropriate to be cooked, cooled, refrigerated, and used within 24 hours. If ice cream is above -13 degrees Celsius, it should be disposed of. If frozen food is above 8 degrees Celsius, it must be discarded. Best practice. Maintaining correct temperatures. Freezers should be placed away from any heat source, e.g., cooking appliances, sun rays, in a well-ventilated area. Each freezer should be fitted with a temperature indicating dial or fitted with an internal thermometer. The correct operating temperature should be displayed on the door of the freezer. Freezers should not be overstocked, so as to prevent air from circulating. Hot foods should not be placed in a freezer, as this may result in condensation and a general rise in the temperature of stored product. During use, the door of the freezer should be opened for as short a time as possible. The doors to the freezer should be fitted with effective, well-maintained and clean door seals. Planned preventative maintenance of freezers will be carried out on an annual basis by a specialist contractor, including calibration of temperature displays. Cross-contamination. Steps should be taken to ensure that cross-contamination from raw to ready-to-eat foods does not occur during storage. Wherever possible, separate freezers should be used for the storage of ready-to-eat and raw foods. Otherwise, all ready-to-eat food should be stored on shelves above and/or separately from raw food. Contamination. Food should be kept covered or wrapped to avoid freezer burn. Stock should be stored off the floor to permit cleaning, on racks or shelving. There should be adequate capacity for this purpose. All outer packaging should be removed away from the food preparation areas, and preferably before storage, to reduce the risk of contamination by physical contaminants, for example staples. Freezers should be thoroughly cleaned weekly, using a suitable disinfection process on the internal surfaces. Spillages should be cleaned up immediately. Where a freezer is not fitted with automatic defrost, it should be defrosted and thoroughly cleaned at least quarterly. Units with automatic defrost should be defrosted and cleaned at least every 6 months. During defrosting and cleaning, product removed from the unit should either be placed in another unit or insulated to prevent temperature rise. Freezers should be so sited that all surrounding areas can be properly cleaned. Where appropriate, wheels should be fitted to freezers to allow ease of movement. Stock rotation. New stock should be placed beneath older stock, subject to date coding. Frozen foods should be checked weekly for stock rotation, date coding, and date expired product, which should be removed and discarded. Use the date label printer provided for date labeling food items. Breakdowns. Freezers are well insulated. If a breakdown occurs and alternative storage space is not available, the unit should be covered with insulating material where appropriate. Once the power is restored, the temperature of the goods should be checked. If the temperature of the food has risen above the recommended limit, it should be discarded. All food for discarding should be suitably labeled so that there is no risk of it being accidentally utilized. Arrangements should be made for the safe disposal of the food. Under no circumstances should food be refrozen. Arrangements should be in place for the maintenance and service of freezers. Planned preventative maintenance will be carried out annually.